truth. So now if you're the president, you can argue they're not reporting the truth.
But Emily, wouldn't you agree that the truth
is
also that the rest of the world calls it the Gulf of Mexico?
So technically, every other country could change the name of it too in their own country, then the journalists should comply with whatever their country wants to call it.
Emily, wouldn't you agree that the truth is also that every other country in the world calls it the Gulf of Mexico?
That's fine, but Donald Trump put an executive order to change it.
So which truth do you care about?
I care about the American truth.
Okay. So let's just be clear about it. You only care about the version of truth that Donald Trump says.
I believe
this feels like a really weird hill to die on and something to get quite hysterical over.
Anna Navarro, a MAGA pundit, and a face-to-face confrontation that had the whole panel on edge.
I was very upfront in my briefing on day one that if we feel that there are lies being pushed by outlets in this room, we are going to hold those lies accountable. And it is a fact that the body of water off the coast of Louisiana is called the Gulf of America. And I'm not sure why news outlets don't want to call it that, but that is what it is.
Says the person who talked about $50 billion worth of condoms in Gaza, but that is neither here nor there. Brian Stelter is with us, also with us. This is putting aside her points about lies being told in the briefing room.
Right.
There's some really interesting questions happening here about whether the White House can compel news organizations to talk about things in a particular way.
This is a power play, plain and simple. The president wants people to obey. He wants people to use the words he chooses. He wants people to fall in line, and if they don't, they lose their access. They're not allowed to be in the company of the president. Notably, in the last 2 days, when the AP reporters have been blocked, in one case, I'm told, physically blocked from entering the Oval Office, the photographer was still allowed in, the AP photographer, right? Because the president still wants his photo taken. He wants the pictures, but not the words. This is a First Amendment violation, and I expect in the next few days, the AP will file suit. And they have a very strong case in court. This is yet another example where the courts will be the recourse for presidential action.
Brian, what are the other media outlets doing?
Right now, they're still showing up, they're still asking questions, but that's right, the Correspondents Association has condemned this and called it unacceptable. I think you're suggesting maybe reporters should, what, skip the briefing?
Should band together, because, I mean, listen, if the bully manages to bully one, he's not going to stop at one.
I don't think this is as emotional as you're making it out to be. You know, take away the hysteria for a moment. First off, Trump doesn't need
Who's
AP
being
to
hysterical?
Both of you. Trump doesn't need, first of all, AP
You
to
obviously
take
don't know what a hysterical Anna Navarro is
I just believe it comes down to compliance.
That's true,
Trump put out an executive order. There was an executive order. He changed the name legally to Gulf of America. They're United States-based. I know they're international as well, but right now they're covering U.S. politics. So if he makes an executive order, they should respect that. And if they don't, being there is not a right, it's a privilege.
So I'm going to add in here, though, that this has been called the Gulf of Mexico for 400 years. Right. Yeah. The nation calls it the Gulf of Mexico. So just because Trump claims that we need to...
States.
Okay, but doesn't this feel like a really weird, like, wokeism thing on the right? Like, it feels like the right's version of, like, Latinx or, like, birthing person. It just feels like a really...
You would rather you not refer to me as hysterical for expressing an opinion. I think that's incredibly disrespectful. I don't do it to you.
Why do you think the AP won't just call it the Gulf of America? I mean, the president does rename things. We rename was the mountain, Denali, Mount McKinley.
Let me read their explanation for why they are not doing it. Essentially, they are saying that Trump's order only carries authority within the United States. Mexico, as well as other countries and international bodies, do not have to recognize that name change. The Gulf of Mexico has carried that name for 400 years, as was said at the table, and the Associated Press is going to refer to it by its original name, while acknowledging that Trump has a new name that he would like to call it. They are an international organization. No one except Trump with a pen has said that it's the Gulf of America. It's a body of water that also has borders with another country, and it's been named that for 400 years.
I know, but we have a lawful process in this country for changing the name of it. The president went through it with the Secretary of the Interior, by the way. I mean, it feels a little
different. Can I just answer your Denali question? The Denali thing is actually different because that's a place that's in the United States proper. It exists in
but we changed the name of it. The point is we changed the name of it.
We have the ability to change the name. It's Mount McKinley. It's Mount McKinley.
But we also have the ability to change this body of water. I think, look, this smacks to me of a news organization looking for a way to pick a fight with Donald Trump over something that they don't need to pick a fight over.
Exactly.
A. B, B, he is the president,
wait,
and there
wait,
is a
wait.
lawful process that he
Scott,
did follow to do it.
The news
and so
organization
why
did
won't they
not
just
pick a fight
respect
with
that?
Donald Trump over this. Donald Trump picked a fight with the news organization.
No, they're not calling
over
it by the name.
No,
That's the
the
fight.
news organization can do whatever they want. If they want to call it the Gulf of South America, they can call it
But
that.
why would I
Donald
respect
Trump
a news
doesn't-
organization that
Yeah,
doesn't deal in reality?
but
You don't have
false
to.
information
Scott,
if to not
Scott,
call it what
they
it
can
is.
call it whatever they want because there's free speech in this country. Wouldn't
Sure.
you agree?
Yes, but that, in my opinion, if you're not willing to call something by the proper name based on the laws of the United States, that calls into question your judgment. And are you a
There are
news
no-
organization?
by the way,
or are you?
In play here. It's an executive order,
but-
and the body of water is not
Okay.
named by the United States. It's named
Sure it
by
is.
global organizations that name global landmarks.
Would it
That's
be-
not.
I mean-
It's not.
Now let's talk about how political media actually works. There's a well-established formula in right-wing media. Find the most outrageous angle possible. Push it as far as it will go. The wilder the claim, the better the engagement. And engagement means revenue. It's a business model dressed up as political commentary. The Latinx debate is a perfect example. The term is genuinely debated within Latino communities. That's a legitimate conversation. But turning it into a voting issue? Suggesting terminology alone drives Hispanic voters toward a particular candidate? That's not analysis. That's manufactured outrage on a deadline. And the Gulf renaming situation reveals something far more serious. When journalists get barred from briefings for not adopting unofficial geographic terminology that contradicts 4 centuries of established naming, that's not a branding decision. That's a press freedom issue. The fact that some commentators can't see that tells you how far the goalposts have moved. Here's what's most striking. Some of the loudest defenders of these positions today are the same voices who, not long ago, used words like fascist and authoritarian to describe these exact same tendencies. The only thing that changed wasn't the behavior. It was the political opportunity. And when someone defends policies that demean their own family's heritage in exchange for proximity to power, that's not loyalty. That's a transaction.
Less access, answered no questions, no transparency at any given time. Donald Trump's answered more questions in 3 weeks than Joe Biden answered in 4 years. Elon Musk answered
That's
more
not true,
than
and also a lot of the answers
Come
are
on, Brian.
It's also-
This
it's also-
administration is
hang on.
giving the most
It is
access to the press
also-
they could possibly
just
want.
to be clear, it's also changing the subject, and we're not changing the
But
subject.
you're asking about transparency.
No, we are.
Can the news be covered?
Actually,
And
we're
yes,
talking
it's being
about
covered.
the First Amendment, freedom of speech.
Is he being
The
covered?
AP will win in
That's what we're
court.
talking
Look, the
about.
AP is going to win in court. If they go to court, the AP will win, just as CNN won in 2018 when a press credential was revoked. We're going to see the courts speak out on behalf of the First Amendment here.
I'm with Scott here that if he changes the name to the Gulf of America, whether they like it or not, them not calling it that, they are based out of the U.S. I get that they're an international organization. It's simply they're not reporting on the truth. So now if you're the president, you can
The truth-
argue they're not
But
reporting
Emily,
the truth.
wouldn't
So
you
why are they
agree that
qualified
the
to be
truth
here?
is also that the rest of the world calls it the Gulf of
So
Mexico?
technically, every other country
you
could
ag-
change the name of
wouldn't
it
you
too
ag-
in their own country. Then the journalists should comply with whatever their
Okay,
country
but
wants
Emily,
to call
wouldn't
it.
you agree that the truth is also that every other country in the world calls it the Gulf of Mexico?
That's fine, but Donald Trump put an
So,
executive order to
which
change
truth
it.
do you care about?
I care about the American truth.
Okay,
So
okay.
the
So let's
American
just be
truth
clear
is that
about
Trump
it.
changed
You
the
only
name.
care about
So
the
US
version of
journalists-
truth that Donald Trump
I believe
says is
compliance.
This feels like a really weird
US
hill to die
journalists-
on and something to get quite
And this is what it all comes down to. It's not about the name. It's about what defending it reveals. When commentators argue for something they know is indefensible, it stops being about principle. It's about survival. Keep the access. Keep the bookings. Say whatever needs to be said to stay in the room. And the media control piece is where this gets serious. Bearing journalists for refusing to use unofficial terminology isn't administrative. It's a pressure tactic. When decisions are being made that the public won't like, the last thing you want is a free press asking questions. Defend the small things loudly enough and nobody looks at the big things. That's the strategy. And it's working. Voters deserve better than commentators too afraid to simply tell them the truth. What are your thoughts on media control and political accountability today? Let me know in the comments. And if you enjoyed this video, please give it a like and subscribe to the channel. That stuff really does help us out. Until then, this has been The Public Record. Thanks for watching.